Thanks for joining us. I'm Jonathan Martinez. Jonathan Joss was best known as the voice of John Redcorn on King of the Hill. Police say he was killed by a neighbor last night on the south side. News 4 San Antonio's Karina Hollingsworth joins us now after speaking with some of the people who last saw him before his death.
Moments before actor Jonathan Joss was killed, his neighbor, who does not want to be identified, says she saw Joss clearly upset in front of his mailbox.
We passed him by and we saw him. He was a little loud. I don't know who he was talking to in the vehicle, but he was kind of waving his hands.
Joss's neighbor says she didn't think anything of him being irate because he has been acting erratically over the past several months. Another neighbor shared this video with us of Joss yelling at another neighbor in the street.
He was a little quirky. Mr. Redcorn, did some things out of the ordinary that maybe people, see as not being normal. He would... If we were driving by his home, he would come out into the street and literally try to stop you. He would yell, I don't know if he felt in his mind that that area was his and no one had a right to go through it.
The neighbor referring to Joss by his best-known character, John Redcorn of King of the Hill. Just moments later, the neighbor says she saw Joss yelling in the street. He was shot in front of his mailbox. Police arrested his neighbor, Sigfredo Alvarez for his murder. A man who saw Joss at the ATX TV festival in Austin on Friday says the actor said something that took everyone at the festival by surprise.
He said, my house was burned down. I'm from San Antonio. My house was burned down because I'm gay. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. I mean,
Joss's house burned down in January. His husband, Tristan Gonzalez, posted on Facebook that the shooting was a hate crime, saying that the two of them had been repeatedly harassed because they were gay and that their home was burned down after years of threats from neighbors. The post states, "We reported these threats to law enforcement multiple times and nothing was done." One of their neighbors also says he believes the shooting may have been a hate crime. SAPD denies that, taking to social media to post that despite online claims of this being a hate crime, they found no evidence to indicate the killings were related to his sexual orientation. Aside from his role on King of the Hill, Joss also appeared in Parks and Recreation, Ray Donovan, and Tulsa King. Melissa?
We are following several new developments tonight in the deadly shooting of actor Jonathan Joss.
We just got a hold of police reports that detail what officers were investigating before the actor was shot and killed in his Southside neighborhood. Joss was best known as the voice of John Redcorn in the long-running Fox animated series King of the Hill.
He also made appearances as Ken Hotate on the NBC show Parks and Rec, those two popular roles defining his professional life in Hollywood.
And we've been working to find out more about his life here in San Antonio along Dorsey Street on the south side. News 4 got a hold of several police reports today, painting a picture of some very erratic and dangerous behavior.
The News 4 I-Team's Jordan Elder is live at the site of the shooting to start our team coverage. Jordan, tell us what those reports are saying.
Well, Mandy and Jonathan, these reports show police were heavily involved in this neighborhood and with Jonathan Joss. Some of these reports show neighbors saying that they saw him with a crossbow on multiple occasions, and that includes Sigfredo Ceja Alvarez, who is now accused of killing Jonathan Joss. Disturbances, welfare checks, and mental health calls. Police visited actor Jonathan Joss's home more than 60 times since the beginning of 2024. Neighbors were very familiar with what they call a long-standing feud between Joss and Sigfredo Ceja Alvarez, the man now charged in his murder.
They would back and forth, say things to each other.
Joss and his husband, Tristan Gonzalez, have said threats were repeatedly made toward them because of their sexual orientation. But neighbors tell us threats were being made both ways. Alvarez reporting Joss would threaten him too.
He would say that, he had been threatened by him and that, he would show him a gun every once in a while. He would throw things over his fence.
Joss was reportedly at the site of his former home to pick up mail. The house burned down in January, which we also see in the calls for service. In a post, Gonzalez implied that this was related to sexual orientation. Quote, "That home was burned down after over 2 years of threats from people in the area who repeatedly told us they would set it on fire." But when Joss spoke to reporters back in January, he said the city shut off power to his house.
It's been so cold lately that my partner and I have been doing a fire inside to stay warm.
The San Antonio Fire Department did open an investigation, but we're told today that the case has since been closed. We've requested the documents from that investigation, and we've asked the fire department if they can say for sure whether that fire was arson or if it was accidental. We'll let you know when we hear back. For now, reporting live, I'm Jordan Elder.
In all, police were called to Joss's home more than 60 times in the past year and a half. Here's a quick snapshot at just a few of the calls. On March 23rd of last year, police were called to the home over a dispute over a vehicle. On May 24th, police were called for reports of shots fired. Responding officers said they heard shots when they got there, but nobody was found to have been shot. On July 9th, officers were back at the house, this time investigating reports that someone had a crossbow and was pointing it at people. The crossbow was confiscated by police.
We've also confirmed that the city's Dangerous Assessment Response Team, or DART, was involved in the property where Joss and his husband were living. The DART team first got involved in July of 2024, as they do with properties that are considered to be a nuisance or dangerous. The city issued a notice to vacate the house because of its dangerous conditions. That was going to be in August. Then the city decided the home should be demolished. All of that finalized by September. But the house hadn't been torn down when a fire started this January. That took place on January the 23rd, and then the house was demolished 7 days later.
We also found out today the man accused in the crime has posted $200,000 bond and is set to be released, but there will be some terms. He's under full house arrest, subject to drug and alcohol testing. He is prohibited from having any firearms, no guns. He has a court hearing set for August 19th. We've also uncovered new audio from the day of the shooting in which Joss died.
That audio and video coming from a security camera at a home along Dorsey Street where that shooting happened. Take a listen.
No está. Sí, no está. No está la troca.
Surveillance camera footage captures the shots that killed the King of the Hill star on Sunday. Some in the neighborhood say this was a feud that started with a property dispute between Joss and the brother of the man accused of killing him. Yami Virgin from our sister station Fox SA continues our team coverage now from the site of this shooting. Yami.
According to neighbors here on Dorsey Street, many were excited when they found out who Jonathan Joss was. King of the Hill, everybody knew him. So they were excited when he got here, but a few years later, a feud started, and it was not with the neighbor who allegedly shot him.
This has been going on for years. I think it's just two people that I guess couldn't stand living next to each other for whatever reasons.
This neighbor, who asked not to be identified out of fear for their safety, says the argument over the fence line was between Sigfredo Ceja's relative, who lived between Jonathan Joss and Ceja. But they tell us the feud then grew between Ceja and the King of the Hill star.
They both had their part in it, and it just escalated, and somebody, went and hurt the other, and it shouldn't have happened. I don't think it should be turned into a hate crime though, because now it's affecting the entire neighborhood, and we're all being looked at as we were harassing Jonathan and his husband because they were homophobic, and that's not the case at all.
Coming up at 6 o'clock, some are calling this a hate crime. We speak to a former DA who tells us what the threshold is for that to be considered in this case. Reporting from the South Side, Yami Virgin, News 4 San Antonio.
The official King of the Hill Facebook page posted a message today about Joss's passing. The show's creators saying, quote, "His voice will be missed. We extend our deepest condolences to Jonathan's friends and family." We have the latest tonight on the deadly shooting of King of the Hill actor Jonathan Joss.
Joss was shot and killed off Dorsey Street on the city's South Side Sunday night. Joss was best known as the voice of John Redcorn in the long-running series King of the Hill. And right now, a memorial is growing near the site where Joss was killed. Fans have been placing candles and flowers there all day.
And tonight we are also taking a closer look at police reports revealing a feud between Joss and the man charged with murder. Sigfredo Ceja Alvarez is set to be released from jail after posting a $200,000 bond. Alvarez will be under house arrest and subject to drug and alcohol testing. Also, we're told he can't have any guns. Alvarez's next court hearing is set for August the 19th.
Joss's husband says they were targeted because of their sexual orientation. San Antonio police say right now there's no evidence Joss's death was the result of a hate crime. Neighbors tell News 4 that Joss and Sigfredo Ceja Alvarez had been fighting for years over property rights. Joss's husband, Tristan Carnde Gonzalez posted on social media that they were regularly harassed and that the harassment was homophobic. We asked former District Attorney Nico LaHood about what it would take for this case to be considered a hate crime.
It would have to be the reason why they did the crime, whether it's an aggravated assault, or a murder.
LaHood also says that if there's fear of serious bodily injury or death, that is in certain scenarios a justification to use deadly force.
We also obtained several police reports today detailing months of disputes between Jonathan Joss and his neighbors, some even reporting he was pointing a crossbow. The city was also closely watching the home that used to be on his property. The News 4i team's Jordan Elder details what we found.
Neighbors and Joss's husband have said that tensions were brewing for years. We're going to take you through the timeline so far of some of the 60-plus incidents that took place at their address. We're going to start in June of 2024. Police were called to Joss's address because Sigfredo Ceja Alvarez reported Joss was walking outside his house with a crossbow. Alvarez told police that this wasn't uncommon and he was afraid to let his wife and kids leave the house by themselves because of those patterns. Now, about a month later, the city's dangerous assessment response team came to the house. Their job is to look at properties that are a nuisance or dangerous, and police say in that report they previously confiscated Joss's guns, and in that case they confiscated the crossbow as well. They said the house was not in good condition. In August, the city ordered that the property be vacated, and the owner agreed to have it demolished. That plan was approved in September. Then in October, the city disconnected gas and power to the home. We're going to fast forward to January now. The house catches fire. We still don't know the cause, but the damage was so bad that the city did an emergency demolition a week later. Now we're going to fast forward to this past Sunday. We're told Joss was back at the property to collect mail and ended up getting into an altercation with Alvarez. Alvarez allegedly shot him and has now been arrested. Neighbors are still filling in the blanks in this timeline, saying the threats were hurled back and forth for years. When we get more details about what happened in these gaps, we'll let you know. I'm Jordan Elder in the studio.
And you can read the police reports in their entirety at news4sa.com. We also have a closer look at the neighbors' alleged feud right now on our YouTube page.
So while police are not calling Joss's death a hate crime, his husband posted on Facebook that the suspect yelled homophobic slurs at them during the shooting. Let's go to News 4 San Antonio's Karina Hollingsworth now. She's speaking with members of the LGBTQ community who say this worries them.
June 1st, happy Pride, horrible. Horrible. It is unexcusable.
Jonathan Joss was murdered on the first day of Pride Month. He had claimed he had been targeted for being gay.
What happened to Mr. Joss, to tell you the truth, is something that is eye-opening for us because considering that San Antonio is very progressive compared to a lot of cities in the state of Texas, being that there is incidents that still happen like this makes us more aware that it could happen anywhere.
David Joseph Gomez is the co-owner of 360 Queen Entertainment, a drag production company here in San Antonio. Joss's murder makes him think twice about holding his partner's hand or showing affection in public.
Hesitation comes with safety. It's never embarrassment. It's never a place of being resentful for being gay. It's a time for safety for me.
Iridescent says Joss's murder has her feeling uneasy. She has not felt targeted in the city, but says that has not been the case in more rural areas.
Just getting called the F slur and dirty looks I can deal with, but it's like being called queer in a derogatory way is not necessarily the most fun.
So far, San Antonio police say the killing does not meet the definition of a hate crime. The records show officers responded to Joss's home on the south side 66 times since September of 2023. 13 of those calls were for disturbances with a neighbor. Attorney Andrea Matos says hate crimes are difficult to prove because they require hard evidence the hate existed.
I absolutely think that they're on the rise in San Antonio, and I think it's disgraceful that that's the society that we live in right now. But I definitely start to see more and more, phrases that are being used, like I said, about racism and homophobia and anti-Semitic statements that are being made across San Antonio and across, cases that I'm seeing.
In 2023, the FBI documented over 11,000 hate crimes reported by more than 16,000 law enforcement agencies. 2,077 of those reports were based on sexual orientation. The Pride Center of San Antonio will honor Jonathan Joss's life Sunday with a vigil at Crockett Park from 7 to 9 p.m. Live in the studio for News 4 San Antonio, I'm Karina Hollingsworth.